Hi, guys. Good morning. My name is Sahil, and wishing you a warm and a happy good morning here from Canada, Toronto. I am live now here, and today is a happy Sunday, August the 10th, 2025. And we are here with a lot of updates, exciting times coming in with regards to Canadian immigration. Canadian immigration, what we are discussing today, is an important part of a lot of updates that have happened in the past week itself. We had three back-to-back draws, and people were surprisingly very disappointed, and so were we. So today's main flavor of the live is going to be that particular express entry. In this video, we will take a very deep look. We will look at the previous year's immigration plan, this year's immigration plan, what is coming up next. We will dissect the pool and try to see what to expect, and some surprising numbers are coming through. So that's the first flavor. Second is a big update coming in with regards to Atlantic immigration programs as well, which is massive. Can be a difference between you being eligible or not. So that is coming through. We will talk about the timelines as well. IRCC is picking up processing times and also the refusal rates. So that will also be a part of today's conversation. And not to forget, the end of the session will be the Q&A. So I highly recommend you keep on pouring your questions in the comments. And towards the end of our briefing today, we will answer most of your questions, and then we'll go in from there. Perfect. So, guys, like I said, today is extremely important as we are discussing the express entry draws. As you already know, that the this particular week starting August the 6th, then 7th, then 8th, um, draws happened, and people were not really happy. If you look at the draws, let me just pull up the draws on the screen as of now. So the end of the week happened with a French language proficiency draw, which was August the 8th. And surprisingly, this was only 481. Sorry, this was a high, but only 2,500 people were invited, which again is a high number. But the problem is that the score went really high. Okay. Now, I will take you through this particular proposition, why the score was very high. And also on top of that, if you look at the previous draws, this particular week had a draw on August the 6th, which was a PNP draw. Again, only 225 invitations were held at a score of 739. Why was this done? Because the provinces are not issuing their NOIs. Apparently, the provinces are going back and forth with the federal government in order to see which um, labor market priority is aligning with the number of people who are in preference, and also the number of landings, because their quotas have been cut into half. All of that is creating a tussle between the federal government and the PNPs. And not to forget the beloved CC draw that happened on August the 7th, which was the whole, cause of hue and cry during the week. We had a Canadian Experience class draw of only 1,000 invitations. One, I was surprised at why this was such a small draw, and 534. Now, this is pretty expected, because if it's a smaller draw at 1,000, then the score has to go high. Okay, so I'm not surprised and why the score is high, but I'm surprised at why did IRCC hold a smaller draw, because uh, we are holding, IRCC is holding back to back bi-weekly draws, and IRCC still has some bit of a quota left with them, which makes me wonder that how are they going to pan out the weeks, because uh, going forward, if you look at half of August, and then we have September, October, November, and December. So that was 4.5 months. Every 2 weeks, there is a draw. That means there are about 9 draws left. Okay. So 9 draw weeks left typically. And in those 9 draw weeks, there could be multiple draws. Every week, if we are seeing 2 draws, then give or take total 18 draws, to look at a number which is very comfortable. 18 draws. Within those 18 draws, IRCC has to invite a lot of people. Now, first, let's take a look at the number of draws that have happened so far. I've put together the draws here. So if we look at this particular section, um, this is all the draws that have happened in 2025 so far. Okay. Now, in 2025, we have had about how many? 30 draws. Okay, if you look at these 30 draws, within this total number of invitations that have gone out is 53,000. Okay, within Canadian Experience class, 19,000 people have been invited. Uh, PNP, about 6,000 people have already been invited. French category, about 21,000 people have been invited so far. And healthcare, about 5,000 people have been invited. Now, I was just doing a number from previous year. If you look at French previous year, so this is 2024, and I've put the 2024 numbers here as well for you to have a look on the right hand side. So this is 2024. In 2024, about 98,000 invitations were sent out, just going by rough numbers of previous year. Although this rough calculation is not apple to apple, because this year's um, the number of reduction this year is approximately 18%. So 18% drop. If you look at 18% drop here, um, yes, so absolute difference expected the number of draws here in. So let me just not take it. Rather, it will be misleading a bit. Okay. So, like I said, 21,000 French, if we just go by last year's number, because the French target has not gone low, then we are expecting another round of French this particular year. At least I am expecting. I don't know about others, but I'm expecting French draws this year. Health, we are short of, already we are short of 5,000. And then looking at a minus 18% of the number year on year reduction, give or take about 20% short. We are expecting 4 more thousand. If you look at education, only 1,000 people have been invited so far. Trade, none. Last year, we had about 3,600 people being invited. Now, PNP, 6,000. Last year, PNP, 14,000 people were invited. Now, if PNP doesn't go through because of the reduced numbers, then I'm assuming that these PNP numbers will roll into in Canada focus, which will be Canadian Experience class, hence more draws of Canadian Experience class. So, overall, my expectation here is that we still have some quota left for Canadian Experience class, but within Canadian Experience class, the important thing to note here is now this year they have split Canadian Experience class to, or rather, Canadian Experience FSW FST. The dedicated quota is 82,980, as opposed to last year. Overall, federal high skilled quota was 110,000, and this included everybody from this. So, this particular number has dropped. Okay. Now, if you look at economic priorities, okay. Now, this particular number here is 82,000. Federal economic priorities for this particular year, again, this is 2025, 41,700 dedicated, and this includes the economic priorities. Okay. So, if you look at 41,700 for this year, 41,700, and let's go back to the table that we've compiled. This one, that means we still have, yeah. So provincial nominee is 55,000 here, and then provincial nominee is just not this; it's more than this, rather. So don't get misconfused, misaligned by this number, because PNP is non-express entry also, so that's separate. Now, if you look at apart from this, about 27,000 people. So if we still have, um, I think for the categories, if you look at number of landings, so each invitation corresponds to more number of people landing also. So this is not an absolute combination, but if you just look at the invitations, 47,000 people landing. So 47,000 people landing into 27,000 people landing in this year into 2 point, or rather, let's say 2.2, 59,000 people. So looks like the categories are reaching its limit almost. But if you look at the number of people landing in Canada focus, number of people expected are almost 83,000, and we are sitting at 19,000 so far. So let's say 20,000. So 20,000 into 2.2, you look at 44,000. So there is a good amount of space left in Canadian Experience class as opposed to what has been invited so far. So, but the problem is the number of draws, even if we look at the number of draws panning out to the end of the year, 9 draws maybe, um, we should not be seeing a very low CC score. So the end result should be that the CC scores expected below 515 are very low. I think the expectations hovering around 519, 520 is a realistic expectation, considering that IRCC continues to invite back to back bi weekly people. If they do back to back bi-weekly 3500 ish, say 4000 sort of a draw, then IRCC will be on target to meet 2026. Now with 2026 we already have a drop in some percentage, some target is reducing, and also spillover of draws from this particular year. So right now, starting July or rather August onwards, everybody who's getting invited, not everybody but most of the people who are invited, will land in 2026. So these numbers that you see are 2024. Now, if I take you to this one, so for next year, the number of people being invited are 75,000. So this was 2025 number, which is already gone. So let's look at 2026 now, even further less. So this particular number being expected is 75,000. And then the low range, if you see here, low range is 33,000 and the high range is this. So we're already past the low range. We're now sitting at anywhere between 75,000 and 82,000. This is the range that we're looking at, and about PNP about 55,000 people. So that's the number that we are looking at. With this number pending, if you look at the number of draws that have happened so far, we have about 20,000 people being invited into 2.5 average landing per family. 50,000 is reached. So we have about 20 to 25,000 people pending. So 25,000 divided by approximately 9. So about this is the total number of absolute number landing. Now you divide that by 2.5, hence the number of draws pending are less. So end result, the expectation of scores dropping, I don't have that. Do not expect below 500, but yes, somewhere around. But yes, one possibility, if IRCC decides to invite all of the pending people in just one draw, for sure, that can be one actual probability when the score might drop. But if they keep on inviting few people every bi-weekly, then I don't think the scores will drop. Overall, if you look at the pool at the moment, something that is peculiar regarding the pool as well. Here, people are using French a lot. If you look at French specifically, the last time we had a higher draw, this was back in November. Back in November, we had a very high draw at 478. So overall, if you look at all the scores, 481 is the highest French draw ever. What's surprising is last year, this is less than a year ago, only 800 people could manage 478. This year, 2,500 people have managed 481 and above. You see the difference? This particular difference shows that people are actually learning French, and the number has gone almost 300%. So 300% of a growth in the French invitations with regards to a specific set of score above 478, because 481 is by far the highest number of CRS cutoff for French speakers of francophone categories, in particular category of express entry. Apart from that, very normally people ask that, okay, who are those people who are scoring above 500? How come 534 is a cutoff? The answer is simple. There is three bifurcations of, or three buckets, broad buckets of people who can manage a score of 530 and above. One, people who are below the age of 30 and have a master's from back home, did probably another master's here, or have a bachelor's from back home, did a master's here, have 3 or more years of work experience back home, have 1 to 2 or maybe up to 3 years of work experience here, and best of IELTS. That's the one category. Second category is obviously French, people who know French and the other stuff. And then beyond that, we already have people who are getting COQ, Certificate of Qualification. So those are the people who are adding. And there is another category where people are able to do some diplomas here, 3 years of work experience back home, 2 or 3 years of work experience here on extensions, and plus they have their siblings here. They're getting additional 15 points. These are the people who are pushing up the profile. It cannot happen without having international work experience and having Canadian experience. Uh, you know, there has to be a combination of both, because in the absence of LMIA and the absence of COQ or absence of French, the only fourth category that adds 50 points is international experience. Hence, if you want to add 50 points to your file, there are four major categories. One, You could have added LMIA. Now that is gone. So those job offer points are gone. So that is over. Now to add 50 points, you have COQ, Certificate of Qualification, or you have your international experience and Canadian experience, both put together, almost 50 points. Or you learn French. So that's 50 points. And the last addition would be having a sibling in Canada. That's about 15 points. These four things put together in combination, along with a lower age that is below 30, best of IELTS, CLB 10, that with 3 or more years of international experience, 2 to 3 years of Canadian experience, all put together is the package that IRCC is inviting right now above 520, 530ish. If you are far from this, then you'll have to make alternate plans or make sure that you have this particular aim ready for you. This is by far what you're looking at. If you look at the pool of candidates as of now, the pool of candidates is also very interesting. And the pool of candidates right now is sort of unchanged, which makes me wonder that 501 and 600, 24,000 people. And like I explained, like the four categories, one, the job offer is gone, hence 24,000 is just not ending. And I sometimes wonder that why did IRCC even remove the LMIA points when there weren't many? The only real answer to that question is only to curb immigration fraud, because immigration fraud, even though the number of LMIA holders in express entry was very low, it was still an immigration fraud. I mean, people paying for LMIAs, people paying for job offers, that was a fraud. So that was a good move. But I think IRCC should come back with an alternative, because claiming points is not a problem. The way they are claiming points is a problem. So if they can curb the fraud part out of it, then I think adding that number will not make a big of a difference. If you look at the pool overall, 256,000 people, which is good. 256,000 individuals right now in the pool, um, which has never really gone down, which makes me again think that, what kind of um, uh, the number is not dropping. People are saying they're leaving Canada. People are saying that they're not here. Then what? People are not leaving Canada. People are still choosing to come to Canada. More and more people are interested. Although social media right now is flooded with negative comments here and there, but at the end of the day, these 256,000 people who are still there in the pool, and they've been there for a very long time, and they keep on coming back every now and then, just shows that people are still interested deep down in their hearts. But yes, this is so far my take on Canadian immigration. If we start taking a look at the pool, we've already taken a look at. Now let's take a look at the other important update that happened with regards to Atlantic immigration. The Atlantic immigration has posted a change on immigration settlement fund requirements. Here, if you see, this update happened about last week, July 29th, where number of family members, this number has actually gone up. If you look at the numbers, uh, the family of four has gone up to 7090, and it is above the LICO. 7090 is the funds that you're looking at depending upon the family. So if you're trying to apply for AIP anytime soon, then you should be taking a very close look at your the funds that you need in order to be eligible under the program. And next important update is with regards to processing times. Right now the processing times are all over the place. um, we are looking at work permits from inside Canada, 181 days. This is stagnant. This hasn't changed. International experience class, current season that has been ongoing is 6 weeks, which is pretty less. But super visa for parents, oh my God, this number has actually gone up. If you look at this particular number, 129 days. And visitor visa from inside Canada, which is a TRV processing, this is just 14 days. This has always been less. Study permit, less than 3 weeks. And this number, I am party to it. Like, I have actually witnessed this for a couple of files for our September intake. We did one file for one person in the end of July. We were not expecting a reply, but the person has not the end of July, but the starting of July, but the person has already received a decision. So, which is good, but we are now waiting for the stamping, which is taking time. So, having said that, IRCC is processing a lot of files with delays, and anybody who's waiting for their particular application, I believe you should take a leap ahead. Inside Canada extensions, they are now putting it to triage. If you're expecting a delay in your decision, then that won't happen. IRCC is reaching the decisions fairly quickly. Perfect. So, guys, that was most of our updates with regards to the changes that have happened in IRCC so far. Again, for anybody who's waiting for an express entry pool addition, don't wait. If you want to be a part of the pool, be a part of the pool as soon as possible so that you can make use of the next earliest available opportunity. And if you ever get a draw, do not miss the draw. Be a part of that draw, submit your file, and hopefully you will be able to go forward on this. All right, guys, time for the spicy session. It is the Q&A session, and people are commenting already where, yes, my friend, we are taking Q&A, and right now is the time when we start the Q&A. So yes, do submit your questions in the comments, and then we will be able to answer them. So here we go. Tim Faker, are you a consultant? Yes, my friend, I am a consultant and I am licensed to practice in Canada. This is my phone number and my contact details. If you have to get in touch with us, please feel free to book an appointment and we would be more than happy to speak with you. Also, do consider subscribing. That's the easiest option. You can always pour in your questions and we answer questions for free here on this post. So let's just take a look at your question and then we'll move from there. I am a co-op student at AMD doing 12 months of co-op. I'll go back to the University of Alberta for my last year of undergrad degree. What can I do to maximize the chance of PR? Can't switch industry. Tim, it is a rather difficult part to answer your question with just this much of a background, but assuming that you have done undergrad here, first of all, your co-op points during your education will not fetch you any, because it's a part of your study program. So this will not fetch you any Canadian experience, depending upon whether you have experience from back home and if you gain experience here. Combination of that plus a high IELTS or a CELPIP score should land you closer to your permanent residency. That's option number one. Option number two, if you're studying in Alberta, try to apply for Alberta Opportunity Stream. That could be a better opportunity. For foreign graduates, if you've done a foreign graduate, Alberta Foreign Graduate Entrepreneur, or you also have Alberta Entrepreneur Rural, that's another option. Or you have Alberta Rural Renewal, depending on where you're going to work. So you will have a couple of options, Tim. But just take a closer look at your profile. Again, unless we know the entire background, it's impossible for us to answer or give you a more binding answer. Sam, any updates on OINP delete? No, delayed nominations. Yes, delayed nominations. Again, I've previously said that we are expecting. So, first of all, is OINP going to invite more people? Yes, we are expecting invitations later this month. At least this is what I was made aware of when I had a chat with somebody who was working as a support worker in one of the Ontario related wings. And she said that Ontario told them that ONP told them that they're expecting a draw in the end of August. But again, that hasn't happened so far, although we are still, we've covered first third of August so far, but hoping we will get a draw soon. Delayed invitations is a plague, my friend. I mean, like, Ontario has delayed invitations. I believe there are three major reasons that Ontario cited that why are they delaying the reasons. One, they have been facing IT glitches. They were moving over to this new platform. So that's one. They are struggling with previous year's surplus numbers and landing in this year. Second, they are now looking at doing a check of authenticity of the employer's job offers and the applicants, and also they are now trying to cancel applications so that they can match the future incoming residents to in Canada and also labor market priorities. So with all of these in play, OINP is taking its sweet time. They don't want to rush into it. I hope that gives you a sense of why they are delaying, but I know it's bad. It's something that you don't expect, but it is something that you have to live with. Okay, Hussein, my question is that they are going to conduct EEONP anytime soon. We show expect score range. Kindly answer the question, please. Okay. We are expecting a human capital priorities draw, but a lot of people who are expecting a tech draw, that's going to be a bit tough because OINP has clearly said that they are trying to prioritize health, construction, trades, and support workers and all of those NOC codes. Depending upon what NOC code you're in, we are expecting um, a draw anytime soon now. OINP, Express Entry OINP, which is HCP only, human capital priority, and skill trade, this draw is expected somewhere closer to September. Between August and September, we should see more draws. What are the other question? Okay. We have nearly 4 years of experience in software QA from back home, which is good. But I have genuine Canadian experience of 1.5 years in 62. What should be my primary occupation in Express Entry profile? I believe 63200 should be your primary NOC code, my friend, because only then you will be able to be a part of your Canadian experience class, and then that will help you, gain points. It doesn't matter because right now STEM draws aren't. I mean, it's on the lower end, so try to keep your Canadian experience as your primary NSC code. Now you're eligible under that as well. Overall, FSW, FST draws are not happening, and because of that, then becomes an issue. Uh, then you'll wait for a general draw, which again is not expected around the corner. Again, depending upon what do you want to do next. 63200 is a tier 0123 job, which is fine. Primary goal should be to be a part of Canadian experience class. Okay. Neil, do you think people are making fake profiles of Express Entry? Yes, Neil, I think that people do create multiple profiles. One profile they make with accompanying spouse, one without accompanying spouse. People make repetitive profiles, say spouse makes the other spouse accompanying, then they do vice versa. And then people create multiple profiles with multiple uh, IELTS and CELPIP scores as well. So, yes, there is some percentage of um, replica files or redundant files. People do reject their ITAs and then become a part of it again. So all of that is there, but it's not such a big percentage that will affect a lot. Yeah, a couple of hundred people here and there on every draw. That number is definitely, so say for example, this last week we had a CC draw of only 1000, and within this, if there were say 5% of people who did that, then that means 50 draws. Number could have dropped further, right? Unfortunately, people don't understand. People try to make it, and then they get caught in the future. So it is not something that you should be doing. Okay, interesting question. Hi, Sahil. What's the fastest timeline you have seen for a CC inland applicant this year? My friend, I have seen, let me tell you, I saw 18 days for a francophone category, but for CC, I saw one of my client is in North York. I think we saw it in 28 days precise. Within 28 days to 31 days, that's the number. I was chatting with him the other day. 31 days, he got P1 right from the day we submitted. The guy's file was pristine. He had 3 years of one company experience overseas, good company, big four types. Here, working with a chartered accountant, single company for more than 1 year, did a bachelor's degree, flat out. Person got PR earlier this year, like the January type draws, which was the fastest that we saw. Um, okay, so what are the other questions? Okay, so this is interesting. Akansha, let me see. Okay, so Akansha says 515 healthcare draw is good enough. Also, what are the timelines for work permit from within Canada going to decrease from 181 days? 515 for healthcare, yes, I believe it's a very good score for healthcare specifically. I think what you're doing now is waiting. Um, from within Canada, 181 days, they are hoping to decrease the timeline for inside Canada work permit extension. Then we hope they do. Right now, what we are aware of that they are into triaging the file. So the moment the file goes to IRCC, they have somebody who's sending it into different departments and making sure first level of eligibilities. Now, is that being done by an AI or an actual human being? I hope actual human being. But yes, This is something that they are working on. They've acknowledged that work permits are taking time, but I hope they look at decreasing that. But 515 for healthcare is pretty good. Okay, important question. Dual intent LMIA filed by my employer. It did not ask any application fees. I applied for closed work permit using LMIA application. Is it okay? It's very odd to see IRCC not asking for fees. You must check with the ESDC. So not you. So basically, employer should call ESDC. Let ESDC know that we've applied for a dual intent, which means a work permit and a PNP PR support. Right now, PR support is immaterial. You can't do it anymore. So this particular application will take very, very long. Dual intent LMI applications are taking more than 1 year. So first of all, that the second part of your question says if you've applied for a closed work permit using LMIA number, yeah, that is fine. But if it's not asking for the fees, then what will you do with it? It will eventually get refused. So you have to get this investigated with ESDC first. Make sure that your employer is paying the fees. Then the closed work permit application should be fine. But chances are IRCC may reach a decision before your LMIA is processed. In that particular event, if you are unlucky, they might refuse it, or if you're lucky, they might just wait for it longer. But they will not issue a decision unless the LMIA is decided upon. Okay, what other questions do we have? Okay. Hi, sir. How much score is expected for trade? Expected. I have 475. I am worried about that. And how much of a quota for trade this year? Taranjit, I believe, honestly, for trade last year, only 3600, 35 or 3600, something like that. So last year, about if you look at this particular number here, last year in trade, 3600 people were invited. So far this year, zero. Uh, in terms of target or in terms of quota, I believe this will be the same. Will there be or will 475 be enough? I honestly think yes. 475 should be a good score. Hopefully, fingers crossed, there is no guarantee to it because we don't know which NOC codes are or which of those codes are sitting at which. So there's no bifurcation available, unfortunately. But yes, I believe 475 should be good. The problem is that a lot of people with high CRS scores and the addition of the recent cook in trade, that is going to swing the number very high. So that, and if cook wasn't a part of trade, then you would have been good. Or if you are already a cook, then hopefully 475 should be a good score, I'm assuming, because looking at education, um, which had somewhat of a similar cutoff, hopefully 475 for trade will be good. I'm expecting 475, 480ish sort of a score. Okay, what other questions do we have? Interesting questions, guys. You're doing a good job. um, So, Akhil, I believe you will have to watch this video from the start. I've covered this sort of speculation very selectively. But yes, to answer your question again, when do we expect by the end of this year for a CC draw? Will it drop to somewhere near 500? Honestly, no. I don't think so. 500 is a realistic probability unless IRCC holds a very, very big draw. If they hold a big draw, like a big chunk, then yes, you can go down to, then also actually no. I mean, like 500, 505 to no. 510ish, 512ish, that will be if they hold a very big draw. But honestly, 519ish, 520ish is the realistic expectation going forward. Okay. The other question is Ankit Vyas. Ankit says, can we expect a stem draw before the end of this year and at what score? Also, can I add my spouse if the cutoff is less than our combined score? Okay, so let's just take one part of this question separately and the other one separately. Can we expect a stem draw by end of this year? I hope so, yes. Although IRCC has and the PNPs have shown no interest in STEM categories. In fact, all the PNPs, including BC, Alberta, Ontario, they have clearly said that we don't have any labor priority market or invitation left for STEM category. But the good part is that IRCC has still not removed STEM from its preference categories. It is still a part of those categories. Can we expect a draw? I hope we at least get one draw, because then it'll be a bit unfair for these categories. Because if we see no invitation in any of those draws, that's going to be very unlikely. What is the cutoff? I believe the cutoff will be very high because there are a lot of IT people sitting in the pool. I think a STEM category draw, depending upon the size they hold, somewhere between 500 to 510, that should be the kind of a draw that we should be looking at STEM. Now, can I add my spouse? The second part of the question: can I add my spouse if the cutoff is less than our combined score? Of course, why not? If say you get invited at, say for example, 510, okay, and you're already sitting at 530, then if you add your spouse, by adding your spouse, your score drops to 520. You are still above the cutoff, which was 510. Then fine, you can do the file. But if adding your spouse drops your score to below the cutoff, then you will have to reject that particular round of invitation. I hope that clarifies. Uh, yes, my friend, a trade draw should be around the corner, at least before the end of this year. That's what we can say. But yes, we are expecting trade draw, and we are expecting more education draws. So that's something that we are expecting. Okay, guys, we'll take up wrapping up two questions and then we'll be heading off to a day. Okay, let's look at this question. Akhtar, I live in BC since 3 years on closed work permit. My employer treated me unfairly and laid off. Laid off since 5 months. Am I eligible for vulnerable open work permit? How long he keep me laid off? Legal. Okay. How long for laid off is legal? No, there is no answer to that. There is no legal laid off time frame. If the person has laid you off, that means you are done with that job. You can proceed with another uh, finding of another job, basically finding another LMIA and trying to apply for another work permit. You can live in Canada within status or basically legally as a visitor up until your work permit is valid. But you cannot work for any other company unless you get another LMI and apply for another work permit. May 28th update. Okay. Now, if your employer treated you unfairly and laid you off, then you might be able to apply for a vulnerable open work permit if you have been subject to abuse. Now, abuse can be of multiple types. There can be physical abuse, it can be verbal abuse, it can be mental abuse, it can be financial abuse. Such things, if any of those things have happened to you, then you can apply for a vulnerable open work permit. If, say, example, I'm giving an example, say your employer did not give you the last severance pay, did not pay you the last salary, and then just laid you off, told you that go home, then that is financial abuse. If your employer wasn't giving you the hours, still asking you to work over the limitation of hours, then that is one kind of abuse. But if the employer has paid you full amount of money, due diligence, proper notice period, proper severance pay over and above what you dedicated, then I'm suspecting that that will not be financial abuse. I hope that sort of gives you a sense of understanding how to identify abuse. um Okay, this one's interesting. Hi, Sahil. My consultant received Portal 1 request and replied to it by himself. I am just curious if that is fine or I had to respond to that. Thank you. Harjinder, that is not something that your consultant should be doing. It clearly mentions in that email, the P1 email, that you have to forward this to the applicant and the applicant should be replying to it by himself or herself. If your consultant is doing it, that is not right. If you look at the P1 email, let me try to see if I can find a P1 email for you. If you're in, uh, I think we received one PR email, um, P1 email, uh, June. I think I have one screenshot of a P1 email. I will be able to hide. Uh, yeah, 29 June. No. Yeah, so I don't have a P1 email handy for you to see today, but overall, yes, um, it should be you who should be replying, and they've clearly mentioned, or they clearly say that in that forward. If you're a consultant or a practitioner, forward this to your client, and your client should put that email ID in the response, hit reply, and then you do it. You must get that rectified, get that P1, and now you reply. Hopefully, that will fix it. But yes, there's it's not a good thing to do. Perfect, guys. I believe we will call it a wrap. I will have to proceed to other consultations for the day today. It's a lovely Sunday morning. I am heading for certain important stuff for the day. Hoping to catch you during this week. We will continue to post a lot of videos during this week, and I hope you will get all the latest updates. And also, for anybody who's not been able to speak with us, you can feel free to book an appointment, and we would be happy to speak with you during the consultation. And also, do consider subscribing. We do post regular updates on our social media and our Twitter handle and Instagram. Looking forward to meeting you all there. Wish you all the best, guys. Thanks for joining in. And until next time, all the best.